Humanity's future lay precariously in one man's battle-hardened hands. Failure would mean the slaughter of billions. Derek Bailey grimaced as the holographic display lit up, the sinister silhouette of a Tuk-Tuk warship looming over Earth. The menacing crimson text flashed, "Surrender or die." Admiral Jack Simmons sighed, his weathered face betraying the gravity of the situation. "They gave us 48 hours, Derek. If we don't send an ambassador to negotiate peace, they'll launch a full-scale invasion. Earth's defenses won't hold." Derek clenched his fists, his mind racing. He had faced death countless times as a Navy SEAL, but this was different. The stakes had never been higher. "Why me, Admiral? I'm a soldier, not a diplomat." Simmons leaned forward, his eyes locked on Derek's. "The Tuk-Tuk only respect strength, Derek. They won't listen to politicians or bureaucrats. We need someone who can speak their language, who can show them that humanity won't be pushed around. That's you." Derek exhaled, the weight of the mission settling on his shoulders. He knew he had no choice. If he failed, Earth would burn. "All right, I'm in. What do I need to know?" Simmons handed him a data pad. "Everything we have on Tuk-Tuk culture and language is here. Study it, live it. You'll also have access to our most advanced tech, a state-of-the-art ship, weapons and comms. But ultimately, it's your wits and your will that will make the difference." Derek nodded, his resolve hardening. He had 48 hours to become the ambassador humanity needed. 48 hours to prevent an interstellar war. 48 hours to save the human race. As he strode out of the briefing room, Derek knew one thing for certain. Failure was not an option. The necessity of a human ambassador had never been more clear or more dire. Derek's ship shuddered as it dropped out of warp, the inky void of space replaced by the looming visage of Karas Prime. The journey had been fraught with danger, a Tuk-Tuk raiding party nearly ending his mission before it began. But Derek's piloting skills and the ship's advanced weaponry had seen him through, the attackers reduced to drifting debris. As he guided the craft towards the planet's surface, Derek steeled himself for what lay ahead. The landing pad was a hive of activity, scores of Tuk-Tuk warriors forming a perimeter around his designated berth. At their center stood a towering figure, his obsidian scales glinting in the harsh sunlight. Derek strode down the ramp, his gaze locked with the alien leader. "Warlord Zorgax, I presume?" The Tuk-Tuk's molten eyes narrowed. "You presume correctly, human. I am here to escort you to your doom." Derek didn't flinch. "I'm here to negotiate peace." Zorgax laughed, a guttural sound that echoed across the pad. "Peace? The Tuk-Tuk do not negotiate. We conquer, we destroy, and we will grind your pitiful species beneath our claws." "Then let us settle this the Tuk-Tuk way," Derek countered, his voice ringing with challenge. "I invoke the right of single combat. You and me, in the arena. If I win, you grant me an audience with your emperor." The warlord's eyes widened, then gleamed with predatory anticipation. "You have courage, human, foolish, misplaced courage. I accept your challenge. And when I have broken you, I will lead the invasion of your world myself." The arena was a cauldron of noise and bloodlust, thousands of Tuk-Tuk baying for Derek's blood. He stood opposite Zorgax, the alien a mountain of rippling muscle and battle-scarred hide. The warlord lunged, claws outstretched, but Derek sidestepped, delivering a punishing blow to Zorgax's flank. The Tuk-Tuk roared, his tail lashing out and sending Derek flying. He hit the ground hard, tasting blood. But he was up again in an instant, launching himself at Zorgax in a flurry of strikes. They traded blows, the air ringing with the impact of fist on flesh. Derek's world narrowed to the fight, to the primal struggle for dominance. Time lost meaning. The battle raged on, neither warrior able to gain the upper hand. Derek's body screamed with pain, but he pushed through it, matching Zorgax blow for blow. In the end, they both collapsed, exhausted and bleeding. The crowd fell silent, stunned by the spectacle they had witnessed. Zorgax staggered to his feet, looming over Derek's prone form. For a moment the human thought the end had come, but then the warlord extended a clawed hand. "Rise, warrior," Zorgax rumbled. "You have earned the right to speak with the Emperor. As Derek was led through the streets of the Tak-Tak capital, he couldn't help but marvel at the sheer scale of their civilization. Monuments to conquest towered overhead, each one a testament to the Tak-Tak's martial prowess. Legions of warriors marched past, their armor gleaming and their weapons held high. This was a society built on war, on the relentless pursuit of dominance. And yet, as he stepped through the gates of the imperial palace, Derek knew that he had to find a way to forge a peace. The fate of humanity hung in the balance. The palace was a monument to Tak-Tak might, all gleaming obsidian and pulsing energy fields. Derek marched through the cavernous halls, flanked by a phalanx of heavily armed guards. They led him to the throne room, where Emperor Kal Rok awaited. The Emperor was a formidable sight, his battle-scarred face a testament to a lifetime of warfare. A glowing cybernetic eye fixed Derek with an unwavering stare. "So the human ambassador graces us with his presence." Kal Rok's voice was a rumble of thunder. "You have proven yourself in the arena, but words are wind. Your true test begins now." Derek inclined his head respectfully. "I'm ready, Emperor." Kal Rok's lips curled in a predatory smile. "We shall see." The first trial was a labyrinth, a twisting maze of corridors and chambers filled with lethal traps. Derek dodged spinning blades, leapt over spiked pits, and outmaneuvered genetically engineered monstrosities. His SEAL training served him well, his instincts honed to a razor's edge. Next came the interrogation. A cunning Tak-Tak inquisitor probed Derek's mind, seeking to uncover any deception or weakness. But Derek was a fortress, his will unbreakable. He met the interrogator's gaze unflinchingly, his responses measured and true. The final challenge was a holographic combat simulator, pitting Derek against 3 of the Emperor's champion warriors. They came at him in a whirlwind of claws and blades, their movements a blur of speed and precision. But Derek was faster, his reflexes honed by years of training. He danced around their attacks, striking with surgical precision. When it was over, the champions lay defeated at his feet. Derek stood tall, his breath coming in controlled bursts. Kal Rok watched from an observation platform, his expression unreadable. In the days that followed, Derek immersed himself in Tak-Tak culture, learning their ways and their history. He discovered a society shaped by scarcity and conflict, where clans fought endlessly over dwindling resources. If there was to be peace, he realized, the Tak-Tak needed a new path forward. He brought his proposal to the Emperor, a joint expedition to a resource-rich star system, a chance for human and Tak-Tak to work together. Kal Rok was skeptical at first, but Derek's passion and logic swayed him. "Bring me the support of the clan leaders," the Emperor declared, "and I will consider your plan." So Derek set out once more, this time as a diplomat. He met with each clan leader in turn, drawing on his knowledge of their customs and his growing reputation. He spoke of a future of plenty, of Tak-Tak and human children growing up in a universe at peace. Slowly, tentatively, the clan leaders began to listen. Derek's words, backed by his deeds, were a force to be reckoned with, but he knew his work was far from over. Uniting the Tak-Tak would be a monumental task, and there were still those who clamored for war. Derek's diplomatic efforts hit a snag when his meetings with the clan leaders took an unexpected turn. During a tense negotiation with Clan Rakor, Derek noticed the clan leaders' bodyguards exchanging furtive glances and fingering their weapons. His instincts screamed danger. Suddenly the doors burst open, and a squad of heavily armed Tak-Tak soldiers stormed in, led by a towering figure in jet-black armor. Derek recognized him instantly from the intelligence briefings. General Zorkol, a ruthless tactician with a reputation for brutality. "Seize the human!" Zorkol bellowed, his voice dripping with contempt. "He is a spy and a saboteur, here to undermine our great empire." Derek dove for cover, as blaster fire erupted around him. He rolled behind a pillar, drawing his own weapon. "I am here on a mission of peace," he shouted over the din of battle. "I have no quarrel with you, General." Zorkol laughed, a harsh grating sound. Peace? There can be no peace with weaklings like you. The Tak-Tak are destined to rule the galaxy, and I will lead them to glory. Derek realized with a sinking feeling that Zorkul was no mere renegade. He had the backing of at least some of the clans. The general's forces were well equipped and highly trained, fighting with a ferocity that spoke of unwavering loyalty. Derek knew he was outmatched. He needed allies, and fast. As he fought his way out of the ambush, dodging blaster bolts and trading shots with Zorkul's soldiers, he activated his comm link. Zorgax Velkor, do you read me? We have a situation. Hours later, Derek stood in the Emperor's war room, flanked by Warlord Zorgax and Velkor, a brilliant Tak-Tak scientist who had become a valuable ally. They had barely escaped the ambush, and the evidence they had gathered was damning. General Zorkul is planning a coup, Derek said, his voice grave. He's been secretly building a power base among the clans, promising them conquest and glory, and that's not the worst of it. Velkor stepped forward, her eyes wide with fear. My lord, we have reason to believe that Zorkul has developed a new weapon, a device capable of destroying entire planets. If he succeeds in his coup... The Emperor slammed his fist on the table, his cybernetic eye flashing. This cannot stand. Zorkul's treachery will be the downfall of the Tak-Tak if we do not stop him. Ambassador Derek, you have proven yourself a true ally. What do you suggest? Derek took a deep breath. We need to act fast. Zorkul's forces are already on the move. We must rally the loyal clans and strike at the heart of his operation, and we need to find and destroy that weapon before he can use it. The Emperor nodded grimly. So be it. Warlord Zorgax, gather your best warriors. You will accompany the ambassador on this mission. Velkor, continue your analysis of the weapon. We must find a way to counter it. As the War Council dispersed, Derek felt the weight of the galaxy on his shoulders. The fate of both the Tak-Tak and humanity rested on the success of this mission. Failure was not an option. Days later, Derek crouched in the shadows of Zorkul's stronghold, a sprawling fortress bristling with defenses. Beside him, Warlord Zorgax and a hand-picked team of Tak-Tak commandos checked their weapons, their eyes glinting with fierce determination. They had fought their way through the outer perimeter, taking out guard posts and sensor arrays with surgical precision. But the real challenge lay ahead. Somewhere in this labyrinth of steel and stone was the key to Zorkul's plan, the planet killer weapon. Derek signaled to his team and they moved out, silent as ghosts. They stalked through the corridors, neutralizing patrols with quick, efficient strikes. Derek marveled at the skill of the Tak-Tak warriors, their movements fluid and lethal. Suddenly alarms blared throughout the complex. Intruder alert! Intruder alert! Zorkul's voice boomed over the loudspeakers. All units, converge on Sector 7G. The human must not reach the laboratories. Derek cursed under his breath. They had been discovered. He turned to Zorgax, who bared his teeth in a feral grin. Let them come, the warlord growled. We will show them the true meaning of war. The team fought their way through waves of defenders, the corridors ringing with the clash of blades and the sizzle of blaster fire. Derek led from the front, his plasma rifle spitting death with every pull of the trigger. At last, they reached the heart of the complex, a vast chamber pulsing with malevolent energy. In the center stood the planet killer, a nightmarish fusion of Tak-Tak and stolen human technology. Derek's blood ran cold at the sight of it. But there was no time to hesitate. As Derek moved to plant the charges that would destroy the weapon, a familiar figure emerged from the shadows. Velkor, her eyes blazing with defiance, struggled in the grip of two hulking guards. "Ah, the great ambassador," Zorkul sneered, striding forward. "You have been a thorn in my side for too long, but now you will bear witness to the ascension of the Tak-Tak and the annihilation of your pitiful species." Derek raised his rifle, but Zorkul just laughed. "Go ahead, shoot me, but know that if I die, your precious scientist dies with me. And the weapon, it is already primed. In a matter of hours, your homeworld will be nothing but ashes." Derek's finger tightened on the trigger, his heart pounding. He had come so far, sacrificed so much. To fail now would be unthinkable. But as he stared into Velkor's eyes, he saw not fear, but trust. She believed in him, in their mission, in peace. Derek lowered his weapon, his voice steady. "You're wrong, Zorkol. The Tak-Tak are not destined for conquest. They have a choice, just like we all do. A choice to build rather than destroy, to unite rather than divide. And I'm going to prove it to you." With a speed that belied his battered body, Derek lunged forward, slamming into the guards holding Velkor. The scientist sprang free, snatching a fallen blaster and joining the fray. Zorkol roared in rage, drawing his own weapon. But Zorgax was there, his warhammer smashing into the general's armor with bone-crushing force. The two titans clashed, their battle shaking the very foundations of the fortress. Derek and Velkor fought side by side, working their way towards the planet killer. They had to shut it down, had to stop the countdown before it was too late. But Zorkol's forces were relentless, pouring into the chamber like a tide of steel and fury. For every soldier they cut down, two more seemed to take their place. Just as all seemed lost, a deafening boom echoed through the complex. The walls shuddered, dust raining from the ceiling. Derek's comm crackled to life. "Ambassador, this is the Emperor. Reinforcements have arrived. Hold fast. Help is coming." Outside, a vast fleet of Tak-Tak warships descended from the sky, the Emperor's personal guard leading the charge. Loyal clans from across the planet had answered the call, united against the threat of Zorkol's treachery. Derek felt a surge of hope. They could do this, they had to. For the sake of the Tak-Tak, for the sake of Earth, for the sake of every living being in the galaxy, they had to succeed. With a final desperate push, Derek and Velkor reached the control panel of the planet killer. The countdown flashed red, 60 seconds to launch. Velkor's fingers flew over the keys, her brow furrowed in concentration. Derek stood guard, his rifle blazing, holding back the tide of Zorkol's soldiers. Zorkol himself was a whirlwind of destruction, his blade flashing as he dueled Zorgax. The warlord fought with grim determination, but even he could not match the general's skill and fury. 30 seconds. Velkor cursed, her hands shaking. The weapon's security systems were fighting her every step of the way. 20 seconds. Zorkol's blade found a gap in Zorgax's armor, the warlord stumbling back, blood seeping from the wound. 10 seconds. Derek gritted his teeth, his rifle red-hot in his hands. They were so close they couldn't fail now. 5 seconds. Velkor let out a triumphant shout. "Got it!" The countdown freezing, the weapon powering down with a descending whine. But Zorkol wasn't finished. With a roar of primal rage, he lunged at Derek, his blade slicing through the air. Derek barely managed to parry the blow, the force of it sending shockwaves up his arms. The two warriors clashed, trading blows in a deadly dance. Around them the battle raged, Tak-Tak fighting Tak-Tak in a brutal melee. Derek could feel his strength waning, his injuries taking their toll. Zorkol pressed the advantage, his attacks coming faster and harder. But as the general raised his blade for the killing blow, a searing bolt of plasma struck him square in the chest. Zorkol staggered, his armor smoking, his eyes wide with disbelief. Zorgax stood behind him, his rifle raised, his face a mask of grim satisfaction. "For the Emperor," the warlord growled. "For the Tak-Tak." Zorkol toppled. His reign of terror ended at last. Around them the last of his soldiers threw down their weapons, surrendering to the overwhelming might of the Emperor's forces. Derek slumped to the ground, exhausted but victorious. Velkor was at his side in an instant, her eyes shining with relief and something more. Derek and his strike team charged through the corridors of Zorkol's flagship, plasma rifles blazing. Tak-Tak soldiers swarmed them from every direction, their armor glinting under the harsh lights. Derek ducked and rolled, his rifle spitting blue fire. A Tak-Tak warrior fell, his chest a smoking ruin. Zorgax was a whirlwind of destruction, his warhammer smashing through armor and bone. "The control room is just ahead," he roared over the din of battle. They burst through the doors, guns at the ready. The room was a maze of pulsing consoles and glowing screens, and there at the center was Velkor, She hung limply from the restraints that bound her to the weapon's core, her body battered and bruised. Derek's heart clenched at the sight of her. "Velka!" he cried, rushing forward. But Zorkol stepped from the shadows, his face twisted in a sneer. "You're too late, human. The weapon is primed. In minutes, your precious Earth will be nothing but dust." Derek leveled his rifle at the general. "Deactivate it, now!" Zorkol laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "You still don't understand, do you? There is no deactivation. The sequence has begun. The only way to stop it is to destroy the core, and your little friend is wired into it. You can't save her and your planet. You have to choose." Derek's world spun. He looked at Velkor, at the pain etched into every line of her face. Then he thought of Earth, of the billions of lives hanging in the balance. "Derek," Velkor whispered, her voice barely audible, "it's okay. Do what you have to do." Tears streamed down Derek's face. He knew what he had to do, but that didn't make it any easier. He stepped to the console, his fingers hovering over the controls. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice breaking. "I'm so sorry." He inputted the self-destruct sequence. The room shook as the weapon's core began to overload. Alarms blared, red lights flashing. "We need to go!" Zorgak shouted, already moving towards the exit. Derek took one last look at Velkor. "I'll never forget you," he said. Then he turned and ran, the tears blurring his vision. They barely made it to the escape pods before the flagship tore itself apart. From the view screen, Derek watched as the massive vessel was engulfed in a blinding fireball. He thought of Velkor, of her sacrifice. It was a pain that would never leave him. In the days that followed, the Tuktuk Empire reeled from the revelations of Zorkol's treachery. Emperor Kalrok, in a historic address, pledged to seek peace with humanity. "The time for war is over," he declared. "Let us build a future together." Derek returned to Earth to a hero's welcome. Crowds cheered his name, hailing him as the savior of humanity. But as he stood before the masses, all he could think of was the price of that salvation. He thought of Velkor, of her fierce intelligence, her unwavering courage. She had believed in peace, in the possibility of a better future, and she had given her life for it. As the cheers washed over him, Derek made a silent vow. He would honor Velkor's memory. He would work for peace, no matter the cost. He knew it would be a long road, filled with challenges and setbacks. But he also knew that he would walk it to the end, for Velkor, for the future she had dreamed of. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.